I am Keithlame, and here is one of my Instagram theories I originally posted as just that, a post. And I'm here to turn that theory into a video. So, what's the theory? Well, let's take a look at Cinderella 3. And if you don't know what Cinderella 3 is, well, it's one of the very last direct-to-DVD Disney sequels to be made, or at least from the era that most people tend to discuss. Anyways, this specific sequel is about Lady Tremaine using the fairy godmother's wand to time travel and stop Cinderella from getting her happy ending. I know that plot just sounds like the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, but it's surprisingly really great, at least in my opinion. Anyways, and this proves that in the Cinderella universe, there are two timelines. One with the direct happy ending that everyone knows, and the other one where there is a few extra steps. But what is the actual theory? Well, my goal is to prove how there aren't just two timelines. First piece of evidence, Lucifer. More so, his fate in the first Cinderella movie. In the finale, as Lucifer is blocking the locked door and the mice are fighting him, other mice go get Bruno to chase him off. And Bruno succeeds as Lucifer falls out a window. And it is implied that he dies. I know cats can survive heights from at most 20 floors, but it is still implied. But in the sequel, he is perfectly fine. And there is more proof. If the entire theory was just on that one piece of evidence, it'd be the weakest theory on the internet. Anyways, next piece of evidence is Prudence. Don't know who Prudence is? Well, I wouldn't blame you. She appeared in Cinderella 2, which is even more obscure than the third movie, cause it doesn't have a cult following online. And although she did cameo in the third movie, she didn't say her name there, at least from my knowledge. Anyways, in the second movie, it stated that the king trusts her to handle the banquet more so than the duke. Even though the king ends up choosing Cinderella to handle the banquet, he also does trust Prudence to keep her eye on Cinderella. Anyways, but what does this have to do with the theory? Well, if she is more trusted to handle these types of things, how come she wasn't in the first movie to handle the ball? Now, I know what you're gonna say. Well, it's because they never intended to make a sequel, and during production, they just didn't notice the obvious plot hole. And I would agree with you in terms of the movie itself, but in terms of theorizing and lore solving, this should be questioned. Alright, next piece of evidence. Next piece of evidence is very similar to the whole Prudence situation, Pom Pom. She is another character from Cinderella 2, but she never did cameo in Cinderella 3, so she's even more obscure than Prudence. Anyways, she is the royal palace's cat, but my question is the same as the whole Prudence situation. Why didn't we see her in Cinderella 1? And it's not like she was adopted sometime after Cinderella and Prince Charming got married, because if that was the case, would Cinderella really allow such a thing to happen because of her mice friends? Her mice friends are also living in the palace with her. And if she was adopted beforehand, how come we never saw her during the ball? Because as seen in Cinderella 2, she's a very social cat who isn't afraid to attend royal events. And keep in mind that when Jacques turned into a human in Cinderella 2, don't question it, she was able to tell it was him. And during the ball, the mice were turned into horses, so wouldn't she be attracted to them and want a nibble or something? Because also keep in mind that despite Jacques being turned into a human, Pom Pom still wanted to eat him, and saw him as the equivalent to 6 or 7 mice. I know, it's weird. So, what is going on with these two? Well, I think that Cinderella 1 and Cinderella 2, as we know them, exist within two different timelines. But in the timeline with Cinderella 2, Cinderella 1 is a slightly different movie. It actually features Pom Pom and Prudence, and Lucifer probably doesn't fall out the window. That's right. This theory is on the basis of incredibly major plot holes. And even though it is a very minor detail, Anastasia and Drusilla act completely differently in Cinderella 1 and 2. In Cinderella 1, they're extremely bratty and one-dimensional. Meanwhile, in Cinderella 2, Anastasia goes through character development, and Drusilla shows signs of going through character development. And the reason why they act so differently is because this is another one of the differences between the timelines. In the Cinderella 2 timeline, Anastasia and Drusilla are a lot more multi-dimensional people. And then in Cinderella 3, they act completely differently again, I swear to God, where Anastasia is now only starting her development, and Drusilla is much more like she was in Cinderella 1, completely dumping the potential character development that was set up in Cinderella 2. And this would make sense if the Cinderella we see right before the whole time travel thing existed in another timeline and had another version of Cinderella 1, where Anastasia is like she was in Cinderella 2 and Drusilla is like how she was in the original movie. And then, in Cinderella 3, there's the whole time travel thing, so this means there are 4 timelines overall. And then another big difference between Cinderella 2 and 3 is that Cinderella 3's Anastasia seems to have never met the baker, who straight up kick-started Anastasia's character development in Cinderella 2. And in the end credits for Cinderella 3, it shows Anastasia and the baker seemingly meeting for the first time. And I know there's the thought that Anastasia always remembered him, but when the whole time travel thing happened, the baker forgot and Anastasia re-met him. Okay, first off, that whole theory undermines the whole point of Cinderella's subplot in Cinderella 2, where she breaks free from Lady Tremain's control, and it wouldn't make sense for her to continue dealing with Lady Tremain like we see in Cinderella 3. So, she would have probably moved out and moved with the baker as like a power move or something. And I also won't entertain the theory that Cinderella 3 takes place before Cinderella 2. It just doesn't make sense. Because as seen in Cinderella 3's post-credit scenes, Anastasia and Drusilla are turned into maids after turning back into humans after being turned into frogs. These movies are weird. Okay, firstly, they committed a plethora of crimes against the royal family and the public in general. So there is absolutely no way they would have let them be as free as seen in Cinderella 2. Also, they are turned into maids at the end, so their punishment is to probably serve the royal family as maids. But I don't have evidence for that, so take that with a grain of salt. So, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Disney's Cinderella has 4 timelines. In fact, here are what I think the timelines are. The first timeline is simply the first Cinderella. The second timeline is the slightly different version of Cinderella 1 that makes way for Cinderella 2. The third timeline has another slightly different version of Cinderella 1 with the first couple minutes of Cinderella 3, right before all the time travel stuff. And the fourth timeline has the rest of Cinderella 3. Alright, if there's one question I have after all this, it's how come in Cinderella 2, they say commoners aren't allowed in the palace, but the king somehow knows Giuseppe, a random as hell commoner. Maybe from the ball in Cinderella 1, but who knows. But that's all for now. So, until next time. Also, quick YouTube shout out to Jordy Buzz. Hello, this is Keyflame. I'm just taking a quick sec to record something, so I'm editing 2 videos right now. Well, kind of 3, but whatever. Anyways, I have no idea which ones are going to come out first at the moment, so I'm recording this just in case this one is going to release first, or at least I finish this one first. And I'm pretty sure this one will release first, but anyways. So, what the hell was that whole thing, like the quick shout out to Jordy Buzz, well, I'm going to be doing a thing at the end of my videos where I'll be giving a special shout out to just YouTubers I like. Either underrated YouTubers, YouTubers who don't have that many subscribers, or just YouTubers I like. Either way, they have to be someone I at least watch and like. Maybe on a regular basis, or at the very least, like them, So, yeah. Anyways, and Jordy Buzz is, in my opinion, a very funny YouTuber, so you should go subscribe to them. Anyways, just wanted to get that little memo out of the way, so, yeah. And there was my special shout out to Jordy Buzz. Anyways, bye.